Hello and welcome to this UniCourse video. My name is Ashley. I'm the ILM Programme Manager and tutor here at UniCourse. The topic of today's session is motivating people in the workplace. Now this session is loosely based around Unit 415, motivating people in the workplace, although there are a number of units within the level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 and level 6 ILM leadership and management qualifications that this session may be useful for as well. So motivating people in the workplace. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to delve into and explore motivation and its impact and its relationship to engagement, encouragement, and also its link to performance management. So thanks for joining me today. So let's make a start. The role of the management team and the managers employed within an organisation are, the pivotal to the success. And if you consider all organisations, the different levels of management and leadership, and the demands on an organisation and the people within it, it's important to consider that leaders, managers, they do need a skill set to be effective in that role. And crucially, different organisational configurations that reflects the organisation's culture or the roles within it. They need different leadership. They need different leadership styles, methods, different ways of managing processes in order to get the best out of the people within the team. So we're going to look at and delve deep into what motivates people and different ways that we can allow people to become more motivated. So just before we delve into it in detail, and I've mentioned that this unit is going to be focused on Unit 415, motivating people in the workplace. So I just want to point to some specifics, okay? I'm just going to point to the specification. Now, obviously, when you start on a unit in, and you're making a start, the first thing that you want to do is open the unit specification. It's basically the backbone to that unit. It's everything that you need to know on 2 or 3 pages, and what you need to do to complete that unit and to be able to move on. I move on to the next one. So this unit is separated by 2 learning outcomes, as you can see here. So these are 2 things that, this unit, that in order to complete this unit, you need to be able to understand or be able to do. So understands the factors that may affect performance and the motivation in the workplace. So that's the first point. And that's got 2 questions within it. So 2 questions you need to answer in order to be able to fulfill that learning outcome. So just remember that this assignment, there's only 4 questions. Now, the left-hand side and the learning outcomes, you could break that down into different subheadings if you like, and or you could use the questions to allow you to break down. But remember, what if you've seen the assignment guidance video, what we mentioned, that you can use elements of the criteria, the learning outcomes, to write your introduction. So you might say something like, within this assignment, I will be reviewing different types of motivational theories, including content and process theories, and I will then move on to look at the pros and cons for each and provide my justified recommendation or opinion, and you can move forward with that. So use this information to allow you to write a structured introduction that will set the scene for what you are going to do in your assignment, okay? Now remember, 4 questions. You can tackle these whatever way you want. You can maybe go, well, this week I'm going to just focus on learning outcome 1, or you might want to do a bit of reading as a whole and then look at all different theories and then think which one links best with you and your organisation. Or you might even want to compare 2 different organisations who you think might use different types of approaches and then see which one maybe you think is more fitting within your organisation. So yeah, a couple of different ways you can approach this. But remember, the right-hand side here, this is usually on the last page of every unit specification, and it's the indicative content. Now, the information packs are created based loosely around this indicative content. So reading the information packs is the next port of call after you've looked at the assignment brief. Okay, so the assignment brief basically has these 4 questions, but you've got additional information on the task sheet and additional information on the marking sheet as well. So the unit specification, then assignment brief. I mean, I always say it's always good with an assignment template, put the title of it on, break it down into subheadings. You're already making a start on that assignment, okay? So I'll slow down a little bit more now. So yeah, that's the unit specification, the assignment brief. And if you were to include everything from the indicative content provided here, even if it's just a small sentence, you're more than likely going to be going for the good, past, and the past. Okay, so let's move on. Let's start with a definition. Okay, a couple of definitions for you. So this is what the Oxford Dictionary defines motivation as a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. What I see, and if you're thinking about motivation in business, motivation is the reason for people's actions, the desires, the needs. Motivation is also one action to behaviour, or what causes a person to misbehave or repeat a specific behaviour as well. So, if somebody's engaged to do something, a specific need to be met, and they're conducting a specific behaviour, or they're acting in a specific way, and they're seeing that not only are they satisfied, but the people are satisfied, they're more than likely, going to be motivated to do that again. So it's the driving force behind people's actions. So the needs, the behaviour, and the satisfaction, if you want to break it down a little bit further. We want to touch on the psychological contract. The reason why I want to touch upon this is because I think it's important to have an employee contract, which is written terms, but there's also the psychological contract, which could link with the politics and the leadership and how people are engaged and motivated in the workplace. So the psychological contract between an employer and an employee was first thought out by Chris Argyle and Edgar Sheen. And in basic terms, it's the way 2 parties have mutual obligations towards each other. So the CIPD states that while the word obligations suggests the formality of the psychological contract, the term perception indicates that it is more informal to the contract of employment. So the psychological contract links a lot with motivation, leadership, politics, culture, the norms. Let me give you an example. If you've got somebody who, although, it might be in their written contract that they're to wear for sweat when conducting their business in the office. If they were coming in and, had hoodies on, jumpers on, jeans on, and it was just getting, overlooked and nothing was actually getting done about it, then they change, and they're going to find that that's acceptable under that psychological contract, because they'll believe that maybe their leader or manager is satisfied with how they are now addressing, although informally for the office, as per their written contract says. It's the psychological contract between the two. And if you're a leader or a manager and you're allowing, them standards to slip, then that contract and the mutual obligations that may be agreed on induction if they're becoming to slip away, that people aren't being motivated to conduct their behaviour as was agreed at the start. This is why it is really important to keep people motivated, to keep the standards the same and ethical and fair and consistent as well. So the psychological contract doesn't come disengaged. So have a little read up on that and a little bit more information. There might be some information on the information pack on that. But Argyle and Sheen, really interesting, and it links with quite a lot in relation to leadership and management theory as well. So interesting read if you can find any articles on it. Yeah, okay, so let's move on. Why is motivation important? Now, I could give you many reasons, but for me, it's engagement. Engaging your employees, engaging the staff that you're leading, engaging the people in the team. Motivation underpins the notion of employment engagement. Really, that's what it's about. However, employee engagement isn't just about staff satisfaction. Instead, it measures employees' enthusiasm and commitment to the tasks, objectives, and goals within the workplace. So consider when we're talking about goals, it does lead to the achievement of goals, because if people are wanting to work, are excited, are ready, and are prepared, and are engaged in the work and the tasks that they're actually doing, they'll be more positive to achieve, they'll have more self-esteem to achieve, their creativity might be improved because they're motivated, and it can build relationships and have more of a positive culture within the organisation. And all of that allows people to feel a higher level of self-worth, and that their work's being recognised, and they'll be more and to meet their objectives or their tasks or the department's goals, or the if you're thinking in relation to strategy, the strategic goals as well. So there are many reasons why motivation's important. Does anybody want me to elaborate further on that, or has anybody else got any reasons why they believe that motivation is important? You can leave a note in the chat room if you like, or if you believe that there's any further reasons that you maybe think we should talk about. Okay, I'll leave that open, and maybe we could, if anyone's got any questions or any thoughts on that at the end, we can go into that in more detail. So, different types of motivation. Now, this is really, really important, I believe, to understand. Especially when leading a big team or new to leading a team. Understanding your team is, it's essential in order for you to be able to understand how to motivate them. Now, there's two different types of motivation. You've got intrinsic motivation, which is the motivation to succeed in something or pursue something purely because it's interesting or comes from within. So, on the weekend, I was tracking and climbed about, and that's my hobby. But hobbies are an excellent example of intrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation, it doesn't always carry over to the workplace, but it can. But it's something that you're happy to pursue and get on with as well. And then when you think about extrinsic motivation, it's where people are encouraged to reach their goal or target by a reward or sanction. So an example might be somebody who's sitting an exam, they might be motivated to pass the exam because the parent offers them a financial reward or success, or a person in an organisation might be motivated to reach their target because they believe that they might get a promotion, or a person might be motivated to complete all of their tasks on time because they're on a personal performance, a personal improvement plan. And if they don't complete the tasks, then they're going to be getting a disciplinary. So it's and it can be seen as well, you know, in the sales industry quite a lot with bonuses. You know, most people that, well, you know, most people can be extrinsically motivated in the sales industry for bonuses, pay, things like that. So it's important to be able to understand what a person's, you know, motivated by. You know, it might just be that the person wants to be recognised for what they've achieved or what they've done. So, you know, it's important to be able to understand their motivations in order for you to be able to adapt and change to get the best out of your team, really. So let's now look at individual drivers. Now, there are absolutely, you know, loads of different drivers that, you know, get people motivated. And just remember that people are different. Some are driven by the prospects of challenging work and the opportunity to develop their expertise, while others relish the chance to take on additional responsibilities. Now, David McLeod, he had a book called the Achieving Society. If you get a chance to go to the library or something, you know, it's an interesting read. And what he believes is that most people are motivated by a combination of needs. Now, he focuses on the need for achievement, the need for affiliation, and the need for power. So let's just break that down a little bit. He basically believes that there's usually one drive in particular that's more dominant. So the prospect of performing more drives achievement-orientated employees. They want to attain or go past set standards. So they want to contribute significantly to the organization's aims and achieve the organization's, strategic goals, maybe. To feel motivated and affiliation orientated, develop and maintain good relationships. Okay, so it's about a feeling of belonging in their team and the organization, and the other aspect that the other people within the organization accept them. They perform well in working environments with minimal conflict and good team morale, and good team support as well. Power-orientated employees are driven by the need to impress others and exert influence over people and situations. They really love the responsibility and like to be in control. So you can consider these individuals as people that like to carve out a reputation for themselves and place, great value on their status and position in the organisation. So just consider that as a manager, knowing what your team members, providing them with the support, the guidance, information, and the opportunities to feel motivated, if possible, is essential. It's essential for the relationship management, and it's essential for team cohesiveness as well. I've also pointed out, I really liked this diagram. It's from Mr. Raymondson's blog, and it's about the drivers of motivation. Okay, so it looks at 3 different areas as well. Now it's completely separate to David's, but it just made me think about, if we were to break down the achievement, affiliation, and power, and then think about the direction, intensity, and persistence. If you think that motivation's pulling you from different angles, so direction towards the beneficial goal or the target or the objective, and then the intensity, so how hard the person tries, to achieve that, and and then the persistence, so how long a person tries for. Now, if you think about it, if you were to reflect upon one of your team members' motivation, maybe when you're doing a personal improvement plan because they're just not meeting targets, and you were to think to yourself, okay, if you were to put all of these things in a triangle, where would the person sit? Now, if the person was right the way over, like here, so how long a person really, really is trying for a long time, really trying, really intensive, really trying intensively to actually achieve the target or the goal, but they're not actually getting there. Maybe the goals are achievable. Maybe you need to review that and think, is it specific? Or is it kind of break it down into more manageable tasks or objectives and make it smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound? Can I break it down to smaller sections, maybe get somebody to help and they can complete some element of it, then they complete that element of it, and then you can see how, you might be able to move somebody to be able to achieve. So that might motivate people as well, because think about it, if you're setting people tasks and objectives that on challenge that are too challenging, or they're not achievable, or they're not realistic in the time frame set, people are going to be demotivated. Now we will talk about that in a little bit more detail in one of the following slides, because now we're going to look at the different theories of motivation. Now there are loads out there, and it is like Pandora's box. So, have a read of the resources, or maybe just have a look at the information pack. It breaks it down a little bit. You can just see a little bit of an overview, and any that you feel is maybe relevant or you can connect to within your organization, then move on from there. Now, all of the different theories of motivation, they've been going back to it for years and years and years, and they can be broken up into two different areas. So content theory refers to what a person needs in their life, so their content. And these are often called needs-based theories. So you can see some examples of them here. And then process theories relate to a person's behaviours and their psychological processes, and they're often related to cognitive theories. They focus on how behaviour changes over time, or how it occurs, or how a person comes to act in a different way. So the content theory identifies a person's needs and maps the ideal way to fulfill that need, to drive or motivate a person towards the end goal. So basically, the content theories attempt to determine the specific needs that motivate individuals, while the process theories seek to analyse how a person's behaviour is initiated, sustained or halted or changed over time. So yeah, I've broken it down into sections here, and you might want to just focus on one section. If I'm honest with you, a couple of the questions ask for an evaluation, comparing and contrasting a content and a process theory, and using some form of objective evidence to clarify why that would be good or bad. And that might mean just using the theory that you've read up on, using references or using quotation marks or something like that. That will really bring out your evaluation, so think about that. Let's have a little look at some detail. I'm going to start with one that you're probably most familiar with. Excuse me. So put Maslow and Herzberg's theory of human needs together here, as they're probably the most recognised. I'm going to talk about Abraham hierarchy of needs first, but Abraham Maslow and Friedrich Herzberg believe that psychological forces drive human behaviour. All people are motivated by the basic set of human needs. Their theory postulated a scale of human needs ranging from the basic physical, such as hunger, thirst, and then the higher level ones, such as the need to be loved and the need self-fulfillment and, the self-esteem being met. As the basic levels are fulfilled at the bottom, people are motivated to achieve and attain the higher level needs. Okay, so if you look at it from the diagram, I like this diagram. I think it's, it's quite elaborate, but it gets to the point. And, the first, you're looking at the first four needs being met before actualization can actually be reached. So Maslow believed the top level of growth or like the self-actualization is about people wanting to become more than what they are, to realize their full potential, to grow, to develop. And they, but the both of them, they believe that employers would see better results from workers if they recognised the various needs of the individual workers, and if they varied the rewards offered to them based on that. But just an example of, I was assessing once in an office, and it was and the obviously the main office was quite cool with aircon, but the office that we were actually sitting in never had any, and it was about 30 odd degrees outside, and with the learner saying, I can't work, I can't actually concentrate. I'm not motivated to get this done because I'm just too hot and too uncomfortable. And that's, when you look at the psychological needs at the bottom, and you could probably put, them feeling comfortable in there and having the basic needs such as, temperature, being regulated in order to be able to focus and be engaged and be able to be motivated. Moving on to, and just looking at the contrast with Herzberg to really suggest that leaders should prevent employee dissatisfaction. So, if you think about an example would be ensuring that the working environment is safe and providing employees with all the tools and the resources they need, and meet the team members' higher level satisfying needs. And that could be by an example would be matching roles and responsibilities to the employee's skills and interests. So giving individuals increased responsibilities where appropriate, and also recognising and rewarding their achievements as well. So I do actually, it's one that I do agree with. I do think that if people are comfortable in the workplace, if they feel like they're not going to lose the job, and they're not going to be made redundant, and they've got a really good, a good contract in place, and even a good personal development plan. If the organisation is buying into their self-development, it's more than likely that they're looking for them to the future, so they'll feel safe. And it does work the way up. So if you do feel like you've met everything, then you might push yourself to want to do more as well. So I do really believe in it's one of the oldest Maslow's, but I do really believe that it can be effective. Let's have a little look at Mayo. So Mayo, sorry, let's talk about Taylor first. I do apologise. So Taylor, his theory, I believe this to be quite outdated, to be honest, but that's just through my research. You might have a completely different point of view. This motivational theory concentrates on analysing workflows to find the best way tasks can be performed to maximise efficiency. The scientific study of finding the best methods is called time and motion study, and his theory, if implemented, it looks at that people are only ever motivated by pay. They only go to work to get paid, and that's it. Now, as much as if we weren't getting paid, probably wouldn't come to work. You've got to think about it from maybe like a voluntary, people volunteering, and they're actually going to work and they're motivated, or maybe people in the NHS and think about when we went through the COVID pandemic, people were actually going in because they wanted to help people and they wanted to support people. So I don't believe that this is relevant today, but I mean, it could have some say in them, but I definitely think that there's more to it. But I mean, it's broken down into 4 different areas. So you've got the scientific methods, and that meaning that it's the principle that there's that you can break it down cohesively, and that will allow people to work more effective and efficiently. And then breaking it down again into like the second principle, which is the clear division of responsibilities. This means when the business manager should divide employees to specialize in one task rather than perform multiple tasks. And then performance-based pay. So it sort of goes on the notion that the better you perform, the more that you're going to get paid, or the better. So it usually includes like bonus structures and stuff like that. And then the rigid hierarchy and strict surveillance of employees. And this way the employees are aware of their responsibilities as well as whom to report to in the workplace if they are unhappy. I mean, have a look at this if you think that that's something that you're motivated by. Have a look at it if you maybe work in a large organisation like a factory, for example, because I could say that, somewhere that my mum used to work might have that they might have had that sort of that this theory might have been the backbone of the way that they worked. But yeah, have a little look into it if you feel that you can relate to that. Next, we are looking at Mayo. So this is like a relatively newer theory, and Elton Mayo's theory of motivation. It examines the social needs of the worker. He basically believes that pay alone was not sufficient to motivate employees. So quite a contrast to the last one we were talking about. He believes that employees are more likely motivated by rational factors such as, team morale, camaraderie, attention, recognition, things like that. And you could also categorize teams into 4 different areas. So groups with low norms and low cohesiveness will be less effective. Groups with low norms and high cohesiveness have maybe a negative impact on the team. Groups with high norms and low cohesiveness have some degree of a positive impact through individual member accomplishments, but not like a full team, like steady work, all the team being motivated together. And then groups with high norms and high cohesiveness have the greatest positive impact. Now, this could also be linked, if you were going to be talking about this, evaluating this specific theory, you could also link it to Belbin's team role theory. And he basically thought about applying different people with different personalities to different roles within the within the team. You could also look at the Storman, Norman, forming and performing. That's like the teams as well, and link that with this in the evaluation. So just some ideas there. Moving on to Vroom. So Vroom's expectancy theory seeks to explain why individuals are motivated to choose certain behaviours over others. He proposes that there are 3 different variables at work here. So you've got the expectancy, so the extent to which a behaviour or action is anticipated to help that person achieve that certain performance outcome. So an example could be considering, will doing this help me achieve my goal? So thinking about that. So, or can I hit my targets if I work hard? So it's the effort section. Then you've got the instrumentality section, so the anticipated reward. So it could be financial, it might be promotional, it could be something like that, and it's associated with the behaviour or the action. So if I do this, how will I be rewarded? So that's the performance section. Will hitting my targets lead to rewards? Consider that. And Then you've got the balance. So the value of the anticipated reward to the individual. You know, if you're saying, oh, I'm going to give you a tap on the back to that and I'm going to promote you to middle manager, but that person doesn't even want it because that's not how they're motivated. They're not motivated by promotion. Then they might not be motivated to do that again in the next one because they might not want to be given that. So think about the reward section. Do I find the rewards desirable? Okay. And when you're having one-to-ones with staff or appraisals and stuff, ask them out open questions so you can learn a little bit about what drives their motivation, and it'll give you a little bit more to go off. We'll touch upon Locke as well. So Locke's goal setting theory, basically from his research, he concluded that employees were motivated by clear and specific goals where constructive feedback is provided. Another one that I really find useful, and it can be implemented quite well on a one-to-one or an appraisal, I believe. And his theory states that goals must have clarity, you know, they must be clear, they must be specific, they must be challenging, but not overwhelming in the challenging. Going back to what the example I gave before, they need to have, you know, commitment, and that commitment can be provided through constructive feedback, and it should be given regularly, and that doesn't need to be formal all the time in one-to-ones or appraisals or whatever. It can just be just having a little chat with them, you know, over making a coffee, you know. So, and just remember that goals that are set collaboratively and given the onus back to the person that you're setting the goals for. You know, maybe say to them, how do you think that you might be able to achieve that goal? Is there a specific task that you can do? How realistic do you think it is for you to do it in this time frame? What do you think is the best time set? How do you think that we can monitor once that's being done? So, you know, asking them questions and asking them to clarify and confirm that that task isn't too complex for them. It is achievable. It is a little bit of a challenge for them. They are going to gain commitment, and then you can provide them with feedback and give it constructively, maybe on the next session that you're going to be moving forward with. So I like goals. I think it can be implemented quite well into one reviews, especially, you know, if you're not used to setting objectives or goals for individuals and asking them, you know, and getting them involved in order to be able to get that engagement and for them to be motivated as well. But just remember that everyone's different. It's important to get to know your staff, your team, the people that you are in charge of and that you will be motivating. A good leader will usually find a good mixture of intrinsic and extrinsic motivators, so they can motivate people consistently and fairly across the place. So you don't want to be saying to one person, well, I'll give you a bonus if you do that, but then saying to the other person on the other team, oh no, you know, you won't be getting a bonus, you'll be getting a tap on the back, you know. If you were to do that, it might cause uproar. So being able to use both in the right way, but also being able to maybe push one more than the other, or just, you know, use one as more of an encouragement tool for the people that you know that drives their motivation is a skill in itself. Well, just remember that all individuals are different. Getting to know them, developing relationships with them, having one-to-ones and giving it time will allow you to be able to understand what motivates them. You know, it might be, I used to have somebody who I was leading on my team that there used to be a bonus structure in place, and I could just tell it, they weren't really bothered about meeting or exceeding targets. He would have rather went home early on a Friday afternoon, and if there was an incentive to say, well, if you do this, that and the other, you can go early on a Friday afternoon, he would make sure every single thing was done. So, you know, I always pushed that with him because I knew that he'd excel and exceed all expectations if it was a Friday afternoon was, you know, getting off a little bit early. So it doesn't always have to be, you know, costly for the company. Think about different ways that you can incentivize and motivate your employees to to be a success, really. Just before we go, I'd like to just remind you that the assignment brief is really important. Now, again, open the specification, get an overview of what you need to be reading and what you need to be finding out on. Then open your assignment brief, and maybe at the same time, the assignment template, write your name on it, title of the assignment, and maybe break down the assignment into subheadings, okay? Remember, on the assignment brief on the first page, you've got a little breakdown here. You've got a little breakdown here into, oh no, trying to be clever there, didn't work. So you've got a little bit of a breakdown here on the left side, and it just tells you more about what you need to do. So evaluate 2 or more theories. And the marking criteria breaks that down for you as well. The second part says select and correctly apply. So you need to demonstrate that you can select a specific model or theory and apply it to your workplace. Now, and then be able to evaluate the impact of applying that. Now, you might not have to do it in real time right now. You might use a working example of how it could be improved, and then maybe give it a little bit of time and then look at the impact on it. Or you might look at something in the past, something similar that's happened, and then you can say, well, this really was used when conducting an appraisal. I did look at Locke's. I didn't realize it at the time, but this is what I was doing, and this is how it was. Or you might say in another workplace that I was working in, they use this theory of motivation, and in the current workplace, this is how it's used. And then you may be able to explain the impact that way. But just remember, for the good part, it does ask you for objective evidence. So drawing from theory, if you're talking about Mayo or Taylor's or, Herzberg's motivational theory, make sure that you are letting us know that it is their theory. They've spent years developing that theory. So remember your referencing on this one, because it does ask for theory models, and you are going to need to do a little bit of research to back up your thoughts. Yeah. Okay, so that concludes our session today. I hope it has been useful, and I will leave you with Theodore Roosevelt's quote: "Believe you can, and you're halfway there." If, as always, you have any questions relating to this unit or any unit that you're working on, please contact me. Always happy to help. Thanks for tuning in today. Bye.